Today we'll continue the topic social groups. So let's recall what we have learned in the previous class. We have learned about social groups and society. In every society, groups or collectivities exist, and also we have learned and the types of groups and collectivities are different in different societies. So any gathering of people does not necessarily constitute a social group. That means there is some criteria is there to fulfill so that it can become a social groups. So also we have learned about the quasi groups. So a quasi groups is an aggregate or combination which lacks structure or organizations and whose members may be unaware or less aware of the existence of groupings. So this was the quasi groups, and also we have learned about the characteristics of social groups. There are 6 characteristics: persistent interaction to provide continuity, stable pattern of these interactions, a sense of belonging to identify with other members. Each individual is conscious of the group itself and its own set of rules, rituals and symbols. Shared interest, acceptance of common norms and values, definable structure. And also we have learned about the social groups. Social groups refers to a collection of continuously interacting persons who share common interests, culture, values and norms within a given society. So what we have learned, that is the social groups. So today we are going to discuss about types of social groups. So there are a few types are there, as I have already mentioned in the last class. So today we will continue with these types of social groups. There are few types of groups are there. First one, primary and secondary social groups, community and society or association, in groups and out groups, reference group, and the last one is peer groups. So these are the groups today we are going to discuss. So let's start with the primary and secondary social groups. So okay, we'll come to this next. First let us see what these primary groups. The term primary group is used to refer to a small group of people connected by intimate and face-to-face association and cooperation. The members of primary groups have a sense of belonging. Family, village and groups of friends are examples of primary groups. So first of all, we have learned a primary group is a very small group. Okay, so a very small group of people connected by intimate and face-to-face association and cooperation. The members of primary groups have a sense of belonging. A belonging sense will be there. Okay, and the examples are family, village, friends, like this. Some groups are there which are considered as primary. Okay, so primary, that means they will have a very close connection between them. Okay, so in the villages you can see all the peoples actually we know each other in the villages. So if it is a small groups like family, I think all of you know all of your family members, isn't it? So we have our parents, siblings are there, other relatives are there, we know each other very well, and whenever it is a need or whenever there is time, we meet with each other. Sometimes we talk to them, sometimes we spend time with them. Like this we have a interaction all the times with them. Okay, so this is primary groups. Secondary groups are relatively, on the other hand, okay, secondary groups are relatively large in size. Secondary groups are large in size. You can see here, maintain formal and impersonal relationship. Formal and impersonal relationships. The primary groups are person oriented. Okay, primary groups are person oriented, whereas the secondary groups are goal oriented. Government office like schools, hospitals, these are the examples of secondary groups. Primary groups, what I said, it's a very small in size. Primary group actually it is personal relationship. It is based on the personal relationships. It is not a impersonal. But in the secondary group, you can see here, it is impersonal relationships, and these relationships are very much formal. Okay, formal means any of the offices if you go, you can see the formal relationships will be there. But if you see in our family, we do not maintain this kind of formalities. Okay, we do not need to wear any particular dress to talk to our parents, or particular dress or to talk to our siblings. It's not like that. Okay, it's very informal way. It's not like that you have to every time you need to take permissions for doing this or that. Okay, whether to eat or not, like that. So it's very much formal. So we meet with each other casually. Okay, there is no formalities much. But in the secondary groups, it is formalities will be there. Okay, because it is formal, everything are written in. So primary groups are person oriented. So primary groups, they give more importance to the persons, whereas secondary groups, the persons are not important, because they are talking about the groups, or it's about the goal oriented. Okay, a particular goal will be there in the secondary groups, and they need to achieve that goal, and that is why they do not give much importance to the persons, but they give more importance to the goal, how to achieve it, like government offices, schools, hospitals, like that. Okay, let's see again the differences between these two. So let me, okay, so primary group is, it is small in size, high level of intimacy among members, relationships is very personal. Okay, it is very much personal. Interaction among members is very frequent and takes place on a face to face basis. Okay, so it is not like the other one. So every time this interaction will take place, and it is face to face basis mainly. Most of the times it is happening like face to face. Okay, so members are accepted regardless of who they are. It is more about what the members mean to each other. So, and they know each other, they will accept everyone's views and all. Okay, whatever it is there, some certain rules are there in the families also sometimes, or in some primary groups. No, we maintain these kind of things, but it is not in the written. Okay, but we learn it through the process of socializations. So like examples are given here, like family, groups of friends at school, like that. So it is groups of friends at school, it is not a students association. Okay, make sure that there are two things are there here. Okay, one is called the groups of friends. You have your personal friends are there. Okay, maybe 2 3 4 7 10 friends are there. This is very much personal, it is not a association, it is not a secondary groups. When you talk about the secondary groups, that will not be the groups of friends at secondary. Okay, the students are also comes as a student association. If it is a student association, they may form a secondary groups. Let's see what this secondary groups. Secondary groups, it is usually large in size. In terms of size, primary group is small in size, whereas secondary group is large in size. Less intimacy among members, relationships are usually impersonal and formal. So in the primary groups, the relationships were very much personal um, and informal, actually not formal. But in the secondary groups, you can see it is formal. There are formal relationships are there. Okay, so less frequent interaction among members, leading to limited contact with each other. So their contacts are also limited. It is not like the every time how we are talking in the primary groups. No, it is not like that. So if there is a need, only they will go and talk to them. Okay, it is not that every time they will go and talk to the people. So members are accepted on the basis of what they can do for groups. It is not about the groups that this is my brother, this is my sister, this is my parents, like, not like that. But if there is a need in the groups, only then you can become the members of that group. Otherwise, you are not the member of that group. Okay, so what is the example of that? Some examples are there, like political party, HR, everything. It comes under this secondary groups. Next one is community and association. Okay, so community, you can see in every society you will find a community is there. Okay, so community, who are this community and association? Association and the community, it is little bit different from each other. What is the difference? Let's see here. So community, the term community refers to human relationships that are highly personal, almost like same like uh, this primary group, isn't it? Community refers to human relationships that are highly personal, intimate and enduring. This relationship will last. It is not that temporary. Okay, those where person involvement is considerable, if not total, as in the family, with real friends or a close knit groups. So community, the relationship is very much their attachment is much. Okay, bonding will be there. It's not about some goals or something else. Okay, so relationship will be there, and this kind of this community identity actually is based on some birth, you can say. Okay, ascribed status. Whereas in the society or association refers to everything opposite of community. So it is just opposite to the community. In particular, the apparently impersonal, superficial and transitory relationships of modern urban life. So it is, these relationships are not personal, it is impersonal, and these are all superficial. It is not like for any how we talk in our family. It's not like that. Okay, for particular goal, for that only we have made this association. That is why we will go talk to them. It is not that any informal. Okay, very formal relationship will be maintained in that association. So association is formed by a group of people sharing common goals, thoughts, or working for common purpose. So a common purpose will be there. For that only they will come and make this association. Otherwise there is no use of the associations. So associations are formed for some purpose, some to attain some goal. Okay, but community is not for that. Okay, community, we are not forming the community. It is there, existed, and we continue with that. Okay, and it is, whereas association is temporary. When this uh, goal is already attained or there is no other work to do in the association, there will be no association, but community will remain. Society or association, we see now the difference between this. An association is in but association is made, but community exists naturally. It is natural. So community everywhere, you can see. We do not need to go and make a community. This is okay, from today onwards this is a community. Not like that. It is existed in the society. Whereas association is required to make. If there is some purpose, if there is some requirement, only then we will make this association. An association is partial, but community is whole. Association is a partial. Okay, a partial means a part of something, part of the whole, whereas community is a whole. Everything is there in the community. Association is temporary, but community is permanent. Community is permanent. Okay, whereas association is temporary. When the work is done or when the goal is achieved, it will be no longer. Okay, so association cannot exist with formal rules and regulations, whereas community exists on social contact. Oh, sorry, association cannot exist without formal rules. So a formal, actually this is not without, it should be. Okay, so association cannot exist without formal rules and regulations, whereas community exists on social contact. So only social contracts, like the things what we are learning through the socializations, with that only the community will exist. But for association we need to make some certain formal rules and regulations which are written. Next one is in groups and out groups. You can see the picture here. Some people are in the groups, whereas the other persons is just standing outside the groups. So those who are inside the groups, we can consider them as in groups, whereas the person who is not in the groups, they are considered, or that person is considered as out groups. So an in groups is a social groups to which a person psychologically identifies as being a member. So when you are in a group, when you are in a school, particular school, you can identify yourself, you are in these groups or you are in these groups. So those who are not studying in your school, definitely they will become out groups for you, okay. They are not the member of your same groups. By contrast, an out group is a social group with which an individual does not identify. They are not identifying, okay. If you are a student of a particular school, you cannot identify yourself to the other school, okay, because this identity or what you are identifying yourself with your own school only. So those who are in the other schools, they will be considered as out groups, okay, because they are not studying in your own group or own school. The sense of belonging marks an in groups. So a belonging will be there. This is my friends or my school, like school groups, the school, my school students, like that. These feelings separate us or we from them or they. That means this is our school. We, when we school, say we, that means it is our groups or us. Whereas when we say they means not in your groups, they are from the other groups, out groups or them. Children belonging to a particular school may form an in groups as against those who do not belong to the school. So this is the example of in groups and out groups. I hope you have understand. Next one is reference group. So what is a reference group? The groups whose lifestyles are emulated are known as reference groups. We do not belong to our reference groups, but we do identify ourselves with that groups. So reference groups, actually we are not becoming the member of that particular groups, but we like to refer ourselves or try to identify ourselves with that groups. We feel good. The groups whose lifestyles are emulated, and we will try to copy the lifestyles of that groups all the times. So reference groups are important sources of information about culture, lifestyle, aspirations and goal attainments. So it is good for some getting some informations from that, what is going on in that groups, and we try to emulate the lifestyles, how they are doing all these kind of things and all these things we'll try to copy, but we like to identify that we are from that group, okay, but actually we are not belonging to that groups. So that is why it is called as reference group. We refer ourselves, but practically we are not member of that groups. Last one is the peer group. Peer groups, just simply we can say the same age groups, like school students, classmates, all are same age group students, they are called as a peer. So this is a kind of primary groups. So it is also a kind of primary group. Small groups will be there, maybe usually formed between individuals who are either of similar age, either of sorry, not other, it is either of similar age or who are in a common professional groups. Not only the schoolmates or classmates, but also sometimes we can see some of the professional groups like colleagues, those who are working in an office, we can say they are also the peer groups. So peer groups, sometimes we see, sometimes the peer pressure is also there. The peer group is good, actually sometimes many things we can learn from them, but there is a peer pressure also. One more things we need to like take it seriously. Sometimes especially the young children, because of the peer pressure, sometimes they get some kind of things or they go into such kind of things which is not good, but because of the peer pressure this kind of things happen. So sometimes we need to avoid this also, okay. So this is peer groups. So this is all about the types of social groups. So now whatever we have learned, let us see what we have learned today. So we have learned about the types of social groups. There are a few types of groups are there. First one is the primary and the secondary social groups. Second one is community and a society and or association, in groups and out groups, reference groups, peer groups. So these are the groups we have learned today. So primary groups is a small groups, whereas secondary groups is a large in size groups, okay. one is personal, another one is impersonal, one is formal, another one is informal. Okay, this way we can separate the groups. Same way the community or society, this is also almost similar to the primary and the secondary groups if you see. Okay, little bit different from these in groups and the out groups. So in groups, those who belong to a particular groups, they feel or feelings will be there. Okay, and there is a like a big difference is the we groups or they groups, reference groups. So reference groups is reference groups is a group. We do not become the member of that particular group, but we refer ourselves or we try to identify ourselves to that groups. And the peer groups, last one is the peer groups, is the same as groups. Okay, so either maybe the schoolmates or maybe the professional like the colleagues can form these peer groups. So this is all about today's uh, class. I hope all of you have understand. If there is any doubts, you can write to me in my group, uh, direct to my WhatsApp number, or maybe you can call me also. Thank you. Have a good day.